They were the first of us, created perfect, placed in paradise. But the story of Adam and Eve isn't just ancient history. It's a tragedy we still live out today, and its message is more relevant now than ever before. You've heard the story. A garden, a serpent, a forbidden fruit. But what if I told you that behind this familiar tale lies a heartbreaking truth? A deeper tragedy that speaks to the very soul of humanity? This is not just the story of two people disobeying God. It is the story of innocence lost, of love tested, of choices made, and of consequences that echo through generations. This is the untold tragic story of Adam and Eve. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why it matters more than ever, to you, to me, and to the future of us all. In the beginning there was harmony. God formed Adam from the dust and Eve from Adam's side, not from his head to rule over him, not from his feet to be trampled, but from his side to walk with him as an equal. The Garden of Eden was more than a paradise. It was a symbol of innocence, a place without shame, without death, without fear. Adam and Eve walked with God. There was no distance between the Creator and his creation. They were naked and yet unashamed. They knew love without selfishness, purpose without confusion. But even in paradise, there was a boundary, a single tree, a single command. Do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. Enter the serpent, crafty, clever, ancient. He didn't come with force. Did God really say? Doubt is the oldest weapon in the enemy's arsenal. It slithers into the human heart and asks, is God holding out on you? Is there more? Don't you deserve to decide for yourself what's good and evil? Eve looked. She saw the fruit, desirable for gaining wisdom. And in a moment of choice, she reached. She ate and gave to Adam, and he ate. And just like that, something broke. In an instant, their eyes were opened, but instead of becoming gods, they became afraid. They covered themselves with leaves. They hid among the trees. And when God came walking in the garden, as he always had, they ran. And this is the first tragedy of the story, the fracture between God and man. Innocence was gone. Trust was broken. God asked, "Where are you?" Not because he didn't know, but because they didn't. Adam blamed Eve. Eve blamed the serpent, and no one took responsibility. And so the consequence came, not as wrath, but as heartbreak. They were sent out of Eden, not because God hated them, but because he couldn't let them live forever in their broken state. Even then, he clothed them with garments of skin, a sign of mercy. Blood was shed, the first sacrifice, a foreshadowing of a future redemption. Outside the garden, life was not the same. Pain entered the world, suffering, hard work, division between man and woman, between humanity and the earth. The birth of their first sons, Cain and Abel, would lead to even greater tragedy. The first murder, brother against brother, sin multiplying like a ripple through time. This wasn't just about eating fruit. This was about choosing self over surrender, pride over obedience, and that decision would stain every generation that followed. But here's the deeper tragedy. We still make the same choice today. Every time we say, "My will, not yours." Every time we believe the lie that God is holding out on us, every time we chase what feels good over what is right, we echo the voice of Eden. But the story doesn't end in shame. Even in judgment, God gave a promise. He told the serpent, "The seed of the woman will crush your head." This was the first whisper of redemption, a prophecy of Jesus Christ. Thousands of years later, another garden would witness another temptation, but this time, the outcome would be different. Jesus, in the Garden of Gethsemane, would cry out, "Not my will, but yours be done." He would undo the curse by becoming the curse. He would take the weight of sin, the shame of Adam, the exile of Eve, and carry it to a cross. And by his sacrifice, the way back to Eden was reopened. The tragic story of Adam and Eve is not just a myth or a morality tale, it is a mirror. It reveals the human condition, our longing for control, our fear of missing out, our tendency to run from God instead of to Him. But it also reveals God's heart, a God who seeks, who covers, who promises redemption even in the darkest hour. We are all Adams, we are all Eves, and yet we are all invited back into grace. So today, ask yourself, what trees have I eaten from? What lies have I believed? What shame am I hiding behind? Because the same voice that called to Adam in the garden is calling to you now. Where are you? Not to condemn, but to restore. Thank you for joining this deep dive into one of the most misunderstood and most powerful stories in human history. If this video spoke to you, hit the like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe for more explorations into ancient truth, spiritual wisdom, and the stories that still shape our world today. And remember, even in tragedy, there is always hope.